श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अपारकरुणासिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरेन्द्रगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहं सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्. So by the time my screen sharing happens, can you guys see my screen or no? Can
பார்க்க
you?
முடியுது ஷாம்.
முடியலையா? Okay, okay.
இல்ல இல்ல முடியுது.
Oh. Okay.
பார்க்க முடியுது.
Yeah, thanks. So we are seeing Manomaya Kosha. We are seeing Panchakosha Vilakshana. We are seeing Panchakosha Vivekaha. Of those, we are currently seeing the Manomaya Kosha, which is nothing but the mind. And here Acharya says, mind is very much the reason for samsara, and the same mind which causes samsara, the same mind is also responsible for the removal of samsara. Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho, says says the Upanishad. How? तन्मनशोधनं कार्यं प्रयत्नेन मुमुक्षुना विशुद्धे सति चैतस्मिन् मुक्तिः करफलायते. For a person who prayatnena mumukshuna, for a person who keeps his mind pure, vishuddhe, tanmanashodhanam, shodhanam means to keep his mind pure. So all the people, all the mumukshus means people who are interested in moksha, all the people who are interested in moksha must keep their mind purified. They must keep their mind purified. Tanmana shodhanam karyam. The very important word here is prayatnena mumukshuna. You have to play a very active role in the purification of your mind. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna, hey Krishna, I agree with whatever you say, but my mind is chanchalam. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna. My mind is very chanchalam. Chanchalam means what? Moving here and there. So it is very hard for me to keep my mind in one place. Asks Arjuna to Krishna, and Krishna agrees. Krishna says, hey Arjuna, whatever you are saying is absolutely correct. To be chanchalam, to be under chanchalam, to be as chanchalam, to be very fleeting, it is the nature of the mind, Arjuna. But abhyasa yogena kauntena, but with enough practice, you can bring your mind under your control, said Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And previously in last class, we have seen what are called as Daivi Sampat, what are Asuri Sampat. And if we want our mind to be purified, then we need to increase the Daivi Sampat. We need to decrease the Asuri Sampat. Care of Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 16. I'm not going to go into those. We are just going to move ahead with the next shloka of Viveka Chudamani. Here Acharya repeats it again. Mokshaika satya vishayeshu ragam nirmulya sanyasya cha sarva karma satshraddhaya yaha shravanadi nishthaha rajasvabhavam sa dhunoti buddhe. Previously, we have also seen those mind which are attached to rajas and tamas, those mind which are filled with rajoguna and tamoguna, they are going to cause you samsara, they are going to cause you bandha. And that mind which is attached to the sattva guna, it is going to cause you It is going to be hetu for moksha. And we have also previously seen about rajoguna, tamoguna, sattoguna, which is mainly controlled by the food practices that we have. The food that we eat plays a very major role in these three gunas, care of the old classes of Viveka Chudamani. So in this shloka, Acharya says, mokshaika saktya Vishayeshu ragam nirmulya. For that person who wants moksha, for that person who wants moksha, then what should he do? Vishayeshu ragam nirmulya. Ragam means desires. Vishayeshu ragam, desires for sense pleasures. Vishayaha means sense pleasures, sense objects, dependent on sense objects, deriving pleasure from external objects. Here Acharya says, Nirmulya, those person who roots out all the attachments for the sense pleasures. The sense pleasures can be for food. The sense pleasures can be for music, something to hear. We have 5 organs of knowledge, 5 jnanendriyas, and all the objects of jnanendriyas like our eyes, nose, ears, tongue, the skin. All these are jnanendriyas. All these are like the input, the input. In a computer we have an input, you have like an instrument for inputting, and then output, this thing, keyboard, mouse, they are all in for input. Printer, monitor, they are all output instruments, right? So all the things, these are the 5 sense organs which gives knowledge to the buddhi, which gives knowledge to the manas. And here Acharya says, Vishayeshu ragam nirmulya. You have to uproot all your desires for, all these sense objects. Here the question again comes, okay, how can I uproot my desires for all my sense organs? Because I am always in contact with my body. Whether I like it or not, I cannot just renounce my body as it is. Even according to Shastra, renouncing your body is completely wrong. So, according to Shastra, you cannot just give up your body. Bhagavan has blessed you with your body. And because of your punya papa, because of Bhagavan's karuna, you are being born in this body. And if I am with my body, obviously I am going to be having all my sense organs. I cannot imagine, I cannot be without my eyes. I cannot be without my nose. I cannot be without my ears. I cannot be without my tongue. I cannot be without my skin. They all are a part and parcel of the body which has been blessed by Bhagavan. And if I have a sense organ, then the sense organ is naturally be going to contact with the sense object. I have my eyes, whether I like it or not. If I open my eyes, I am going to see some scenes. I have my ears, whether I like it or not, I am going to hear some music. I have my nose, whether I like it or not, I am going to smell something. I have my tongue, whether I like it or not, I am going to always be tasting something. I have my skin, whether I like it or not, I am going to feel things. So, if such being the case, how can I nirmulya? How can I uproot all my desires? How can I uproot all my desires for, all these sense pleasures? Of course, I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to put my finger in fire. If we say Vishayeshu Ragam Nirmulya, you always want to enjoy, don't enjoy your pleasure. Does Shastra ask me to voluntarily put my finger onto fire? Does the Shastra ask me to voluntarily eat bitter things? Does Shastra want me to voluntarily hear, all the cacophony? Does Shastra want me to voluntarily see things, which are not pleasing to my eyes? No, it is not so. Because in Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna says, Matras Parushastu Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukhadukkada Agama Payinaha Anityaha Tam Titikshasva Bharata. Hey Arjuna, you have to understand one thing very, very clearly. Arjuna says Krishna. This comes in chapter number 2 in Bhagavad Gita. Matras Parushastu Kaunteya. If you have a sense organ, it is always going to be in contact with the sense object. There is absolutely no question about it. What does it mean then Vishayeshu Ragam Nirmulya? What does it mean to uproot all the attachments for sense objects? It means whether you have pleasureful experience, whether you have painful experience, understand that both pleasure and pain are temporary. Understand both pleasure and pain are temporary. If I eat gulab jamun, it is going to be pleasure for my tongue. If I eat bitter gourd, it is going to be painful for my tongue. If I see some Bhagavan's picture, it is pleasureful for my eyes. If I see some Ranakodura Kachi, it is going to be painful for my eyes. If I hear some nice Carnatic music, it is pleasureful for my ears. But if I have to hear somebody crying, it is painful for my ears. So both pleasure and pain, they are going to come, but understanding that both pleasure as well as pain are temporary is very, very important. Normally, we would like to think that only pain is temporary. Normally, we would like to think that a pain is temporary and pleasure is permanent. Therefore, we are going to have an attachment for the pleasure and we are going to have a hatred for the pain. We are going to have an attachment, we are going to have an affinity, we are going to be longing for the pleasure, and we are going to have hatred towards the pain. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is, hey Arjuna, remember that both pleasure and pain are temporary. Matras parushastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkada Agamapayinaha Anityaha. Krishna says, hey Arjuna, they all are Anitya. They all are Agamapayinaha. What is Agamapayinaha? They come and they go. Nobody can eternally be in pain. Nobody can eternally be in pleasure as well. They are cyclic. They are going to come. They are going to go. Then what does that mean? Vishayeshu ragam nirmulya. Then what does that mean to be, not attached with the sense objects? It means do not complain if you have pain and do not rejoice if you have pleasure. That is the real meaning of Vishayeshu ragam nirmulya. If we take the literal meaning, it is as though, like a magnet who magnet, the North Pole, North Pole repels the North Pole. The South Pole repels the South Pole, right? It is like as though we have to repel all the sense objects. No, repelling sense objects, it is also longing. It is also one form of longing. You are not longing for its presence, but you are longing for its absence. So what Vedanta says is that if you have pain or pleasure, do not long for its presence or for its absence. Normally, we long for the presence of pleasure and then we want the absence of pain. What Shastra says is don't want the pleasure as well. Don't be, don't be dependent. Don't want your pain to go as well. Tam titikshasva bharata. If you can change them, by all means, put in all of your efforts in changing pleasure to pain, in changing pain to pleasure. Shastra does not want you to suffer. If there is no electricity, there is nothing wrong in having a visiri to create a fan for you. There is absolutely nothing wrong. If your food that you are eating, it is without any salt, say Shastra say, okay, you don't have to long for pleasure, so I am going to eat this food without salt. No, that is not what Shastra says. If you are able to change the situation into a favorable one, by all means do that. But if you don't have any fan, if you don't have any electricity, if you also don't have any means to make a visiri, to make a hand fan, just don't start complaining. That is what Shastra says. You are out of salt in your kitchen. If you can add salt, okay, you can use pink salt, Himalayan salt, rock salt. But for some reason you are in a marriage, or for some reason that day, whether you forgot to add salt or the people who cook for you, your mother or your wife, forgot to add salt, you don't have to fight with them. You don't have to, long for the salt. One day you can easily adjust. It is not going to kill you. That is all Shastra says. If you can change if you can change painful situation to pleasureful situation, by all means try. But tasmad apariharyete, there are some situations which we cannot change with our humanly efforts. In those situations, in those adverse situations, do not complain. If you complain, you are going to make your life more miserable, as well as you are going to make the life of those who are there for you, those who are surrounding you, those who love you, you are going to make their life miserable as well. So you just start, learn, start to accept situations, start to accept those adverse situations, start to accept those situations which cannot be remedied as if. That is only what Shastra says. That is what is called as Vishayeshu Ragam Nirmulya. And then Sanyasya cha Sarvakarmaha. All those binding actions, please give up. All those actions which you think are very important for you to be pleasureful. All those actions which in the absence of which you think that you are going to have a miserable life. So it is related to the first point that we saw. I want, the food that was made today was not having enough salt. We only had 1 spoon of salt in the food, and then we used all the salt. We don't have any salt. It is night, nobody, no neighbors are there. If we think, okay, I have to go to store, buy salt, all the stores are closed, maybe there is a storm, power cut, everything is closed. The karma, the action is that the binding action that is being spoken here is that you go and procuring some salt. No way it is possible. Shastra say, okay, if it is no way possible, just leave it, just start accepting the situation as it is. Sanyasya cha sarvakarmaha. Mokshaika satya vishayeshu ragam nirmulya. Uproot all those binding desires. Sanyasya cha sarvakarmaha. Don't do all those binding actions. Then what should I do? Sat Shraddhaya, with real Shraddha. With real Shraddha, in Guru Shastra Upadesha. With real faith in Shastra Upadesha, with real faith in Guru Upadesha, yaha, that person, Shravanadhinishtaha, that person who practices threefold things. What are those threefold? Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Shravanam is what we are currently doing. Listening to class, we are listening to the Vedanta class is called as Shravana. Mananam is to understand things without any doubt. Karka is Shravanam. Karsadarak Karka is Mananam. Nididhyasanam is to be abide, is to be established in the teaching. Nirka adarkitaha. That person who sachraddaya shravanadi nishtaha, that person who is very, with strong faith, with strong shraddha in Guru Shastra Upadesha, practices Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. What is he going to do? Rajasvabhavam sa dhunoti buddhehe. Dhunoti means he is going to be purging out all the rajogunam from his buddhi, all the rajogunam from his mind. So what is the thing that Acharya suggests here? Give up all the binding desires, give up all the binding actions, which means what? Practice kshama, practice patience, and having faith in Guru Shastra Upadesha, always engage in Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. That is going to automatically purge your mind of all the Rajoguna. And when Rajoguna is purged out, then your mind is going to be filled with Sattvaguna, which is going to be Mokshasya Heto, which is going to be the Hetu for Moksha. Up until this, the Manomaya Kosha is over. What is the definition of Manomaya Kosha? What are the characteristics of Manomaya Kosha? All these things Acharya has explained, and we have seen more than enough on all these things. And in this last shloka about Manomaya Kosha, Acharya is saying why Manomaya Kosha is not your real self. Why you are not your mind. That is what Acharya here is going to say. Manomayo napi bhavet paratma. Manomayaha paratma na bhavet. Manomayaha, your mind. Manomaya kosha is your mind. Na api paratma. It is not the supreme self. Why? He adyantatvat, because your mind has got a date of birth and your mind has got a date of death as well. What is the date of birth and what is the date of death? And your mind is not going to be ananta, because when you have deep sleep state, your mind is absent. Your mind is present only when you are waking up. Your mind is present only when you are dreaming. But in your deep sleep state, your mind is not there. But self, that very definition of Paramatma, the very definition of Brahman is Nityaha. It is something which is going to be witnessing the absence of mind. And since mind can be present, mind can be absent, absent-minded person la nama solrome. Manomayaha, because he adyantatvat, because it has got a beginning adi, because it has got an end antaha, adyantatvat manomayaha napi bhavet paratma. That is one reason. The second reason is parinami bhavat, because your mind keeps on changing itself. When you are 5 years old, you will be very satisfied with a balloon. When you are 2 or 3 years old, you would be very satisfied with a balloon. If somebody gives you a balloon and $100, I would go get that balloon, not that $100. But now if somebody gives me balloon and $100, my mind goes towards the $100, not towards the balloon. So my mind keeps on evolving. My mind keeps on changing. It is not something that is necessarily bad, but if something is keeps on changing, then that cannot be the witness. Then that cannot be the real self. Your mind, not only from 3 years old or 5 years old to till now, half an hour ago, I was angry. Now I am not angry. Maybe after half an hour, I will become again angry. So even within minutes, even within seconds time frame, your mind changes. Parinamatvat means it is constantly undergoing some kind of change. That is the second reason. Parinami bhavat manomayaha paratma napi bhavet. So third reason is dukkhatmakatvat. Your mind is always dukkhatmaka. Your mind is always be related with dukkha. What kind of dukkha? Even if I get what I wanted, I will be worried that it has to stay. I wanted a gulab jamun. I got that gulab jamun. While eating the gulab jamun itself, I would be so worried that that gulab jamun is going to end. There is a saying, you cannot eat and have, you cannot have and eat your pudding or cake. The cake, they say. You cannot have your cake and eat it. You can either have your cake or you can eat your cake. By the moment I take the first bite of the cake, my mind will be worried that, okay, only 4 bites or more. Only 4 gulab jamuns or more. I won't have the fifth one. So my mind is always engaged in some kind of dukkha, in some kind of worry, in some kind of fear. There are many people who will be worried that everything in their life is going very smoothly. They are always, they are always used to handling problems. So when their life is going through smoothly, their son is married, they have got a nice grandkid, they don't have to worry about their next meal, they have got a roof around, above their, roof above their head, everything is nice. But then they will be worried that everything is going happily and it has to stay this way. So that is another type of worry. So the mind is always what? Dukkhatmakatvat. The mind is always worrisome. The mind is always attached to, the mind is always, it has a tinge of painfulness. But Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat Anandadhyeva Khal Vimani Bhuta Nijayante Anandadhye Najata Nijivanti Anandam Prayatyabhisamvishanti Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma. We define Brahman as the nuclear powerhouse of Ananda. If my mind is worried, how can my mind be my real self? Dukkhatmakatvat vishayatva hetoho vishayatva hetoho. My mind is always an object of knowledge. My mind is always something which can be experienced by me. I experience my mind during my wake up state. I experience my mind during my dream state. I don't experience my mind during my deep sleep state. So, my mind is something that is available for experience. When can you experience something? I am in this room. If somebody comes into this room, I experience their presence in this room. If somebody goes out of this room, I experience their absence in this room. When can I experience their presence as well as their absence? Only if I am present before their coming and if I am present after their going out of this room. So I am relatively permanent in this room than the other person. Only if I am relatively permanent, I can experience something which is coming in and going out, right? In the same way, If I experience the presence of my mind, if I also experience the absence of my mind, then I am something different than my mind. Only if I am somebody different than the person who is coming into this room, who is getting out of this room, I can experience their presence or absence in the room. If I am that person, then I always experience my presence. I will not experience my absence at all. But only if I am different, I can see, okay, at this time, at 7:45, they are not in this room. At 7:50, they are coming into this room. At 8:30, they are going out of this room. At 8:35, they are absent in this room. I can tell all these things only if I have some kind of permanent, if I have some kind of temporary permanence in this room, only then I can make all these statements. In the same way, since my mind is Vishayatva Hetoho, since my mind is my Vishayam, since my mind is the object of my experience, then my real nature should be something other than my mind, right? So because of all these reasons, drashta hi drishyatmataya na drishtaha. The person who experiences, he can never be experienced. A person who experiences can never come under the experience. Just like a camera with which you take a selfie will not be visible in the picture. You take many pictures. In all the pictures, every blessed thing in that room is going to be visible except for the camera which takes the picture. Because the camera is the experiencer, the camera is the subject, all the other things are object. Drigeva natu drishyate. Because of all these reasons, Manomaya Kosha is not my real self. What a sigh of relief. If we accept that Manomaya Kosha is my real self, then I would conclude that I am going to never get moksha, because my mind is always going to be worried about one thing or the other. My son has to get good grade, my son has to get into good college, my son has to get into, even in college, he has to excel in studies, he has to get into, all those worries we are going to have. Fright from the birth. Even if you are young, we want a balloon. My parents are not getting me balloon. They got me the wrong color of the balloon. The balloon broke up. I don't want to eat, but my parents are feeding me, force feeding. Our mind will never be satisfied. It is always going to be worried. If my real nature is my mind, then I will conclude that I am never going to get moksha, because my mind is always be dukkhatmakatva. My mind is always be worried. What a sigh of relief that Acharya has said, okay, you are not your own mind. So the Manomaya topic is over. Let us see a very small recap of what are the things we are seeing before going to the next topic. We are currently seeing the Pancha Kosha Viveka. We have got 5 sheets covering the Atman. We have got 5 sheets through which the Atman operates. They are Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha is our physical body. Pranamaya Kosha is all the physiological processes that happens in the body. Manomaya Kosha is our mind. Vijnanamaya Kosha is our intellect, is our ego. Anandamaya Kosha is that thing which we experience in our deep sleep state. So all these are Pancha Koshas, and Atman is something which operates through all these Panchakosha, which is distinct from all these Panchakoshas. That is what we are seeing. Till now, we have finished Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. We have elaborately seen what is Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. We have also seen what are the problems that are associated with Anna, Prana, and Manomaya Kosha. And we have seen, thankfully, that we are not. Our real nature, Atman, is not either Annamaya or Pranamaya or Manomaya. The next topic we are going to see is obviously the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So before going into Vijnanamaya Kosha, we always have to connect things, because previously we saw something called as Sharira Traya. What is Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira? We have seen Sthula Sharira, the physical body, Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body, Karana Sharira, the causal body. We have seen Sharira Traya Viveka. Sthula Sharira is that which you experience in your waking up state. In my waking up state, my physical body has got prominence. Sukshma Sharira, my physical body shuts off in my dream state, but my mind, intellect, ego, all those things are active during my dream state. That is the Sukshma Sharira. Karana Sharira is my causal body, which I experience in my deep sleep state. We saw this Sharira Traya Viveka. I also related it with our Lalita Sahasranamam. Vishwarupa Jagarani, Swapanti Taijasatmika, Shukta Pragyatmika, Turya Sarvavastha Vivarjita. Vishwarupa Jagarani. During the Jagrada Avastha, during the waking up state, it is called as Vishwa. During the dream state, Vishwarupa Jagarani, Swapanti Taijasatmika. During the dream state, Swapanti, Swapana means dream. The name is Taijasa. Shukta Pragnatmika. During the deep sleep state, the name is called as, the technical name for ourselves is called as Pragnya. And Turiya, the fourth one, under quotes, is Sarvavastha Vivarjita. It is devoid of all these three avasthas: Shantam, Chaturtham, Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma Sa Vigneyaha. Is of the quote from Mandukya Upanishad. That is the Turiyam, the fourth one, is something which operates through these bodies, through these shariras, respectively giving the waking up state, dream state, and the deep sleep state. So, how are these koshas related to Sharira? The physical body, the Stula Sharira, is Annamaya Kosha. The physical body, it is made up of food, Annam, right? If we eat healthy food, the body is going to be healthy. If you eat not so healthy food, the body is not so going to be healthy. So the physical body, the Stula Sharira, is Annamaya Kosha. And Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body, the Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, together constitute our Sukshma Sharira. The Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, mind. Vijnanamaya Kosha, intellect or ego. That is what we are going to see. All these things, all these three things together constitute the Sukshma Sharira. All these three are just one entity, but from different standpoints, we give them a different name. Mango is one fruit. If you have orange, mango, apple, mango is considered as one fruit. But if we take mango, it is going to have a skin outside, it is going to have flesh inside, it is going to have fibers, it is also going to have the seed. In the same way, from the standpoint of Sharira Traya, all these things constitute the Sukshma Sharira. Like from the standpoint of different fruits, mango is one fruit. But if you go into the mango, as you dig into the mango, you will see there is going to be a seed, there is going to be a tasty flesh, there is going to be a skin. In the same way, the same Sukshma Sharira, from different point of view, is divided as Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya Kosha. But the entity is one. The Stula Sharira is made up of Panchabhutas, Panchabhautika. The Stula Panchabhautikas, the five elements. And the Sukshma Sharira, it is made up of Sukshma Panchabhutas. Again, the Sukshma Sharira is also matter. According to our Vedanta, according to our Shastra, mind is a matter. Mind is not consciousness. Mind is a matter. Intellect also, it is made up of some kind of matter which we cannot perceive, because with our Sthula Sharira, we cannot see the Sukshma Sharira. With the Sthula Panchabhutas, we cannot experience, we cannot see, we cannot either prove or disprove the existence of Sukshma Sharira. So that is Sukshma Sharira. And the third one is called as Karana Sharira, the causal body. That causal body is called as Anandamaya Kosha or Avidya or Mula Vidya or Ajnana. It is that thing that we experience in our deep sleep state. Remember, in our deep sleep state, we experience something. Just like how we experience all these different objects that are surrounding us in our waking up state, just like how we experience our dream, all of our dreams, all the objects that are present in our dream, in our dream sleep, in our dream state, in the same way we experience absence of everything in our deep sleep state. Only when we experience absence of everything in our deep sleep state, the next day if somebody wakes us up and asks us the question, how did you sleep? We would be able to tell. We currently are telling, hey, I slept very nicely without any problem. We don't say, hey, I don't know what happened from this time to that time. It is not like, our memory is absent. For a people who are in coma, when they wake up from coma, they don't experience anything. They will have absence of experience for that time period. But when we are in our deep sleep state, we don't experience any, we don't have an absence of experience, but we have an experience of absence of everything. That is the difference between coma and the deep sleep state. So even in our deep sleep state, we experience something. Only then, only because of that, we are able to say, hey, I slept peacefully yesterday. I slept so happily yesterday. So you are experiencing those happiness. You are experiencing the peacefulness. But you just don't know that you are experiencing all those things when you are in the deep sleep state. That is the only problem. So that kosha is called as Karana Sharira and Anandamaya Kosha. I just gave this because we started this topic so long. I don't know if we are remembering what is the context, what is the big picture, and why are we studying all these things. With this, I will finish today's class, and in the next class, we are going to see another important topic of Vijnanamaya Kosha. In fact, it is the seat of our individuality. I say, I experienced something. My mind, I experience my mind to be happy. I experience my sad mind. I am happy. I am very sad. I did punyam. I did papam. Where after my death, I am going to go to Swargam. After my death, I am going to go to Narakam. After my death, I am going to go to Vaikuntha. After my death, I am going to go to Shivaloka. What is this I that we normally refer? This I is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. It is the seat of our individuality. This is the closest thing that we normally identify with. It is the carrier of Punya and Papa. How does Punya and Papa work? How does karma theory work? If I do something good now, then in my next Janma that is going to fructify. Etadvai mukato onnagum radham mukato sma annagum radhyate एतद्वै मध्यतो ओन्नगुं राद्धं मध्यतोऽस्मा अन्नगुं राध्यते एतद्वा अन्ततो ओन्नगुं राद्धं antatoosma annagum radhyate. We saw in Taittiriya Upanishad, those who gave food earlier in their life, they are going to get food earlier in this life. Those who gave charity in the mid portion of their life in previous janma, they will receive charity only in the mid portion of their life. Those who gave charity only at the end portion of their life in previous janma, they are going to receive help only in their end portion. How does all those things work? இதுக்கு பேர் தான் கொடுத்து வச்சிருக்கிறதுன்னு பேர். முன்னாடியே கொடுத்தா நமக்கு முன்னாடியே கிடைக்கும், நடுவுல கொடுத்தா நமக்கு நடுவுல கிடைக்கும், லேட்டா கொடுத்தா நமக்கு லேட்டா தான் கிடைக்கும், கொடுக்கவே இல்லைன்னா நமக்கு கிடைக்கவே கிடைக்காது. So how does all these things work? How does punya, how does punya get carried over from my previous janma to this janma? How does papa carried over from my previous janma to this janma? How do prodigies form? There are many musical prodigies, there are math prodigies, there are science prodigies. We don't have to teach them. There are chess prodigies. You don't even have to teach, any of the chess moves. Just, like that, they will start playing chess. Just like that, they will start playing piano. How? Because they have undergone all these things in their previous janma, and their Vijnanamaya Kosha is what get transferred in this janma. So all those experiences that we got in our previous janma, Vijnanamaya Kosha is like that tape recorder. It records all those vasanas, and in this janma, it is going to release all those vasanas. So Vijnanamaya Kosha is very, very important. We are going to see elaborately what is Vijnanamaya Kosha, how it contributes to samsara, and why Vijnanamaya Kosha is not our real nature. All of these things we will see from next class. Hari Om Purnamadah Purnamadam Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thanks a lot. Next class, Papum. Bye bye.
Thank you, Shanti.